All right, here we go. This is what I've been waiting for. Listen, man, I got. Listen, the past week, 2 weeks, like it's been like nonstop conversation about these types of topics. So I had to bring a person that's a master of the mind.
Whoa.
See, I'm putting him up here. All right, the gentleman I have in front of me. I'm gonna give him some of his accolades. It's so long I had to write him down. He's worked with many small, medium, and Fortune 500 companies. He's done a lot of executive coaching. He's a licensed psychologist here in Georgia. He sits on the American Psychological Association. He's a member of the American Psychological Association, the Georgia Psychological Association, and the Technology Association of Georgia. Does that mean you're a geek? A bit. I dig that.
Yeah.
I dig that. So that's the geek portion of him. You've sat on several boards, the Earth Share of Georgia, Cliff Valley High School, and the Board of Advisors of SciTech. What is that, SciTech?
Well, they're gone now.
What were they?
They're done. They were a kind of a museum for science and technology here in town. They were in the like in Midtown. But they ran out of funding and they closed up shop because they couldn't keep going.
Really?
But it was a great place.
It was?
Yeah, it was awesome.
How long were they around?
I'm going to say 7-8 years probably.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow. I definitely would have jumped into that.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
cool. Good
but
for
they
you.
were always worried about funding,
Yeah.
like everybody.
Yeah, who you telling, man? And with these tax cuts, it ain't helping anything right now.
No.
But anyway, and then all of us, and then what he's done is he went into business for himself after, his great long journey. Developed a great brand,
Psychogenics,
right?
Yeah. You've done your homework.
Yeah, listen, I've done my homework on several different things. Well, I get the newsletters too, which is great.
Oh.
So I get the newsletters,
Yeah.
and I definitely read the
Cool.
newsletters.
That's
so
good.
they're very, very cool. But I wanted to have you in here because I feel, and I've talked to my guys about this, I've talked to a lot of friends about this, right? Like I feel like at some point in life we all need, whether it's no matter what we do, whether it's sports, because I'm a big sports active living type of individual, whether it's life or whether it's just building a community, I feel like we always need some kind of mental fitness, mental tweaking, if you would.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And we've had several conversations here over the past few weeks in regard to that. One of the things that we've been talking about is just basically mindset, right? But before we get into mindset and just kind of like some of the things that you do, why don't you, because this is all about, finding out and meeting you,
Yeah.
why don't you tell us a little bit about, I got you the accolades, I read the accolades, but who you are and why the love of what you're doing right now with psychology. I mean, you live here in Decatur, so I feel like everybody in Decatur should know who you are.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. So.
Well, I grew up in West Texas, El Paso, Texas.
Okay.
Dusty, dirty, desert,
Nice.
right on the border between New Mexico, Old Mexico, and Texas.
Mm-hmm.
All right. UTEP. Yeah, man.
He knows it.
UTEP.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went to school there.
Oh, yeah,
As undergrad.
runners came out of there.
I'm sorry?
A lot of Kenyan runners came out of
Yes,
UTEP.
they have an awesome track and field program.
Yep.
That goes way back from the 60s.
Yes.
And the Kenyans, and actually a lot of Africans, love the weather there. They can train all year. It's dry. They don't worry about humidity. They're always out there. So track and field was a big deal at UTEP. But that's where I grew up. Now, UTEP, the biggest thing that ever happened to El Paso, as far as I'm concerned, is Texas Western at the time. They were not UTEP then. They were Texas Western.
Okay.
They won the NCAA basketball championship in 1966. All right. They beat Kentucky. Okay. UTEP's top 7 players were all black.
Wow.
The whole team wasn't black, but the top 7 players.
Top 7. Okay.
And they were playing against Kentucky, all white. This was before integration. This was back when Kentucky was not recruiting any people of color.
Wow.
And UTEP comes along, and a lot of people were saying, well, they're too undisciplined. They play street ball. They're not going to be able to hang with these Kentucky guys that won national championship after national championship.
Sure.
They're not going to be able to hang. And Texas Western knocked them off in 1966. So
Huge.
Huge.
Yeah, huge.
Is there a movie?
Yeah, Glory Road, awesome movie. Yeah, and so I grew up in that environment. I'm 11 years old when this happened. Okay, So it was the biggest thing that happened to UTEP, to El Paso.
Yeah.
But at 11 years old, I'm like, oh my God,
Uh-huh.
this is awesome. So, I was already into sports.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. But it turned basketball upside down.
Yeah.
It really did. So
Yeah.
I started playing basketball,
Okay.
Now, I went to high school at Austin High School in El Paso.
Yeah.
Stephen F. Austin. And there was a coach there by the name of Alvis Glidewell.
Yeah.
Tweety Bird.
Okay.
He was this little guy. He was probably 5'9", 5'10". He played at UTEP, but he was coaching us. And this guy was the greatest coach. He was an algebra teacher. He taught Algebra 1, Algebra 2. Most coaches don't teach algebra. They teach something easy,
No, yeah, for
Anyway,
sure.
so he's coaching basketball. So I went out for the team, made the team, and he had a great program.
Mhm.
But what I found out later, way later,
Mm.
okay, is that when he was trying to put his teams together, he goes to UCLA and goes to this conference where John Wooden is talking.
Mm-hmm.
John Wooden is a UCLA coach,
Yeah.
multiple championships. He's like the Wizard of Westwood,
Mhm.
okay? So Alvis Glidewell, Tweety Bird, brings back all these plays and all this stuff about what he's going to do with his team. Full court press, man-to-man defense, all this stuff. Well, we didn't know that. He didn't tell us this.
Right.
He just incorporates it. He implements this stuff. But John Wooden also had this pyramid of success,
Uh-huh.
and it's all about mindset. It's all about how do you get yourself in the right frame of mind to be successful. So that's underneath all of this. He's not teaching any of that, really, not directly, but his mindset is already
Yeah.
set.
Yeah.
So he started this winning program. So I really had no business being on a basketball court with most of the people that we played against. Okay, I just didn't.
In retrospect,
In
no. I
retrospect,
really didn't
no.
really.
No, and the further along I got, the more I realized that everybody else's sneakers were up at my head level when I'm playing because they're jumping.
Yeah.
And I see the bottom of everybody's sneakers.
Right,
and
right.
that's all I see.
Were you getting
most of the
dunked on? Is that what
of
you said?
course.
All
Yeah,
day
I
long?
was a poster child.
All day long.
All day long.
Right.
But it didn't matter because we still would win the games.
Right. Okay.
Okay, because
Yeah.
we were doing all this other stuff that they were flashy. They would get if
Bells
they
and whistles, but you guys were the basics. Like
we were the basics.
Yeah.
Our center was 6'2",
Yeah.
and we were playing guys that had 6'10", 6'11". We played this team from Midland. Their front line was 6'11", 6'9", and 6'8",
Jeez.
and our
Jeez.
tallest guy was 6'2".
Jesus.
And we played them in some tournament at Thanksgiving,
Okay.
and we beat them.
Wow.
We beat them. We ended up having like a 29-2 record my senior year. Anyway, that's not the important part. The important part is, without even me knowing it, I'm starting to develop this mindset and playing much better than I had any business playing. Okay.
Mhm.
Now, what I didn't find out until about 25 years later is I'm reading this book about Nolan Richardson, who was also from El Paso. He was the first black player at UTEP.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, he won a national championship at Arkansas
Okay.
in the 70s, 80s. I'm not even, no, the 92, something like 92. All right, he was a high school coach at Bowie High School. All right, so my coach, Alvis Glidewell, gives him all the plays and all the stuff that he got from John Wooden,
He starts winning.
and he starts winning. And now they've got this rivalry for years, okay?
Right.
In El Paso, in this
Right.
crazy place in the middle of the desert,
Right.
and they're beating everybody in New Mexico. They're beating everybody in Arizona. They're beating everybody in Texas.
Right.
These two programs,
Right.
but I didn't know anything. Once again, I didn't know
What was
anything
going
about
on?
it
Right. Right.
until 1990 something. What the heck?
Right. Y'all been swapping off plays and all this
Yeah.
stuff and setting us up.
Yep.
You know what? Somebody needs to. What he's saying, somebody needs to go grab Nick Saban's playbook and do the same thing.
Yeah.
And end up being the same way.
Yeah.
So, you know what? For a second, because I know we're going into the history of which how you got to psychology and stuff.
Yeah,
I'm gonna stop you there for a second because when you just said, you played the players at Midland and they were just way taller, way bigger, flashier to a degree.
Oh yeah.
We had a conversation here recently about tanks, right? When I say tanks, like talking about players. Like if you have a 10-gallon tank, right? And somebody has a 15-gallon tank, right? The person with a 15-gallon tank is always going to outplay you.
You would think.
That's what I said, right? And the conversation was, no, all you have to do is all you have is 10 gallons to work with. If that person opens up his 10, his 11, his 12, his 15, that's it, you're done. And I disagree with that. I feel like based on how I think and how my mindset is locked in determines the outcome, right? So then he drew an example of Michael Phelps. He goes, do you think you could be the next Michael Phelps? He's talking to me, right? And I said, well, if apples to apples, absolutely, right? Like if I'm the same age and, everything's the same, right? You put me in the same category as him, I can give him a run for his money. It's a matter of what the mindset is. And he went in to say, a lot of it has to do with genetics, right? But a person that's 6'11", right?
Right.
Or 6'8", whatever, and your tallest guy is 6'2", the guy who's 6'8" has the ability to slam on that rim a lot easier, right? But the dude who's 6'2" is running circles around him. How's that possible?
Fundamentals. For one. All right,
But is there a genetic advantage?
To some degree, but there's a limit to it, okay? This guy that's 6'11", if you're doing all the right things, he never even gets to the basket.
True.
Okay? You run the full court press, and you have the confidence in the full court press. You believe in the full court press.
Right.
And you believe in the plays that you run. You believe in the defense you run. This 6'11" guy never gets to the basket.
Right.
He never even gets the ball.
Exactly.
Because of not only the fundamentals and the repetition and the deliberate practice and all that, but it's also the mindset. We thought we could beat these guys.
So then let me ask you this. If the playing field is equal, right? He knows the plays, you know the plays, he's still 6'11". What's that determining factor to see who wins? Like it's the difference between who touches the wall first.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What is that? Is that because he when we were talking about this, our guest Matthew Rose referred to the book The Sporting Gene.
Yeah.
Right? I don't know if you've ever read it, but interesting book, right? And he said that the genetic makeup of that person gives them an evolutionary advantage, right? But I said my thought process was mindset trumps that, bro. Like it does.
Yeah.
I don't care how much, and I don't know how true that is. Like it's the difference between saying I can or I can or I can't. I think.
Yeah.
A lot of times.
It's huge.
Right?
It's huge.
So the question is like. But anyway, go ahead on your journey because I just want to jump in on that.
That's
I make a lot of notes as we talk, and we can generally a lot of times spend some time on certain things that I point out. But I refer back to conversations that we had, and I'm just like, there's no way you can say that that my mind can't tell me that I can't whip this dude's butt, and you're saying that I can't, regardless of whatever gas tank I have, whatever gas tank they have. But anyway, so you go through basketball.
Yeah.
And then?
All right. Well, I was done at a certain point. I tried to walk on at UTEP is what I did.
Right.
I tried to walk on.
Right.
Because they were not going to give me a scholarship.
Right.
Well, before I knew it, I'm getting killed.
Yeah.
I'm getting killed. So I just quit and I started going to school.
Okay.
I thought, okay, I'll get my degree.
Yeah.
Well, I'm in my senior year, and my advisor says, you've taken all these courses, and you can actually graduate with a degree in psychology. I said, what?
Who?
Yep.
You can graduate with a degree in psychology. I said, well, I was just taking these classes because I really liked them. I wasn't taking them because I wanted a degree. I didn't want to do anything with a degree in psychology.
Right.
I just liked the classes. And I said, no, get your degree and get out of here.
What'd you like about the classes?
It made me think.
Right.
It inadvertently started developing my mindset further.
Mm-hmm.
Then I started understanding about all the science of psychology.
Right.
What was underpinning all that,
right.
And biology and all the different pieces to it. It all started making sense to me.
Okay.
But still, it was just interesting. I wasn't applying it really, or it didn't seem like I was applying it.
Right.
So
right.
I got out of UTEP with a degree in psychology.
Gnarly.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I still didn't know what I wanted to do with it.
Right.
So a buddy of mine who I'd played basketball with was in graduate school. He was a couple of years ahead of me. he's in graduate school, and I said, "Hey, man, I don't know what I'm going to do with myself." And he says, "Go to graduate school." I said, "What?" He says, "It's really, really easy." Well, he would just.
Really, really easy.
It's really, really easy. And he had just started, so of course it was easy. He wasn't studying. He hadn't taken a test yet.
Right.
He hadn't done anything. And he said,
Right.
"Go to graduate school." So I thought, oh, well, if it's easy, that's
in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
I'm in.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden, I'm at Texas Tech in graduate school for psychology in a PhD program. All right, they didn't take people with masters.
Right.
They took me right out of a bachelor's program and put me in the PhD program.
Oh, are you serious?
Yeah,
Yeah. A lot of schools
What?
do that.
yeah.
Okay.
Some programs do that.
Okay.
All right. So I started there. I hated it. Hated it.
Wait, why?
It was
Like,
hard.
you went from loving this thing to
Yeah.
disliking it?
Well, because once mindset, okay, if you get the mindset this is easy and you walk in there and it's hard,
Yeah.
it's like, well,
Just
wait a
like-
minute.
yeah.
Well, that's one thing. The other thing, I was in Lubbock, Texas. I'm in the middle of the Panhandle.
Yeah.
You know, if the wind blows one way, you get dirt. If the wind blows the other way, you get cow manure smell. So
No win situation, right?
to party, we would have to drive 5 hours to Albuquerque just to party.
Whoa.
Yeah, that's Lubbock,
I mean,
Texas.
hey, listen, Albuquerque's nice. That's worth the drive,
That's
though.
what I'm
Oh,
saying.
right.
Yeah,
It
it's
wasn't
worth the
bad.
drive.
It wasn't
Yeah.
bad.
Yeah, that's cool.
But
So how do you get through this dreadful doctorate program?
you know, that's a great question. Other than once I got going, I thought, I put too much work into it. I can't turn around and quit.
So did you fall in love with it again?
Not then.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
It wasn't till I think I started working after my PhD that, well, my first job was and this comes back to sports psychology.
Mm-hmm.
My first job was at the University of Notre Dame.
Whoa,
Yeah,
that's pretty nice.
I was lucky. I was
That's
really
cool.
lucky. Yeah, I got
That's
a
cool.
job, and I was in charge of what's called outreach and consultation services at the counseling center at the University of Notre Dame. Okay. I enjoyed what I was doing, but all right, one day I'm playing basketball with a bunch of guys at lunchtime, faculty and staff. Okay, we're playing basketball. It's pickup games. Well, the basketball team, Digger Phelps was the coach then.
Okay.
Digger Phelps,
Digger Phelps.
yeah,
Yeah.
his team lost because of free throws. Okay, they missed a bunch of free throws at the end of the game and they lost.
Yeah.
So all of a sudden we're playing pickup, and Digger Phelps comes into the gym, busts the doors open, and he says, "If there's anybody in here that can shoot a free throw, you're on the team." We're all faculty and staff, so we said, "Digger, we're not eligible. We
Right.
can't play.
Right.
We're just faculty and staff." And then one guy pipes up. He says, "But he's a shrink," pointing at me. All right. And Digger Phelps looks at me for a couple of seconds, and then he says, and he walks off.
Right.
Well, about 3-4 weeks later, his assistant coach calls me, Gary Brokaw. He played at Notre Dame.
Okay.
Gary Brokaw calls me and says, we got a couple of players that we're not real thrilled about. A couple of them are academically ineligible, or they're going to be soon. Some of them are not playing as well as they could be. Can you do anything for them?
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, well, I didn't know, but I said, I don't even know.
I guess.
Right. That's how
Right.
I felt. I said, maybe, but
Right.
I don't even know them.
Right.
You bring them in, and
Right.
I'll talk to them and see what I can do.
Okay.
He said, that's fair. So he sent me player after player, and I worked with them on an individual level. And I started thinking, oh, this is cool. I'm an old jock. I love basketball. I've got these guys that are talking to me for, about their issues, problems, why they don't like the coach, why they don't like this, why they don't like that, and I'm talking to them, and why they can't study or won't study, why they're drinking too much after the games, whatever it is.
Right.
And I'm thinking, now this is cool.
This is the ride that I've been waiting
yeah,
for. Right.
I can work with this.
So you jump into it, you start working with these kids.
Yeah.
Right? And first of all, you have a conversation, I guess. Where do you start with these kids? Like, you start asking them, why aren't you studying?
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you wonder, like, how do I fix this? How do I, like,
You
this
know what it
person's
was?
got this problem. This person's got this problem. It's like a whole bunch of stuff.
A whole bunch of stuff.
And I have to get them pretty much on the same page for them to move forward.
Yeah, but I
Or
wasn't even
not.
think that. I wasn't even thinking that far.
That's
No,
way
you know
too
what I was
deep.
thinking? You know what I was thinking? I was thinking, God, these guys have got the greatest gig in the world. They're collegiate basketball players at Notre Dame. I'm thinking, I got to figure out. I'm just curious.
Right.
What are they thinking?
Wow.
What are they thinking? And why wasn't I thinking that? Because I'm thinking that was all that kept me from being a great basketball player. Is, you know, right, no, not exactly.
Gotta be the shoes.
It got to be the shoes.
Yeah.
No, I'm thinking, I have to get the secret sauce.
Right.
So
So this is like personal gain. a little bit.
a little bit. Yeah,
Slightly,
it's like,
yeah.
you know, well, maybe regret. It's like, wow, if I'd only known this,
Yeah.
you know, 4
Why
years
didn't
ago.
I? Right.
Why didn't I?
Yeah.
But I'm curious, though. You know, my curiosity starts going. You know, my neurons start firing,
Yeah.
and I'm just asking all these questions. Well, even if you ask bad questions,
It's no bad question, man.
there's no bad question.
At all.
Yeah.
So I'm getting all this information. They were telling me about their families, how they grew up, where they grew up, this girlfriend. They were telling me everything. They figured that I could relate. You know,
Right.
somehow I developed a rapport, and I think it was just by asking curious
Questions.
questions.
Right.
And so I loved it. I just loved it. I thought I can do this. I mean, I'm going to do other stuff, but I want to do this too.
And while he wrote that down, he was trying to make it into the draft, and he was like, "I got it. This is what I'm going to do." Okay.
No, but I'm still going to the gym. Everybody's jumping over me, and I'm still the poster child and all that kind of stuff. So,
Right.
you know, there's only so much I can do with the size. In fact, my coach one time told me, he said, you know, you're not very fast, but you make up for it by being short.
Yeah.
And I thought, I don't even know what that means.
Come on.
But-
No, there's some. Yeah. I hear that.
Yeah, I was like, okay. But
No, think about it. Like, let's think, because he uses basketball a lot, right? I'll take something like boxing. Okay. Mike Tyson was asked one point, "Who is the greatest boxer of all time?" Right? And I mean, you'd be a fool if you didn't say Muhammad Ali, right? Which he said,
Sure.
right? But he said, you know what? The crazy part is, Muhammad Ali was not a great athlete, right?
Yeah.
Overall, when you look at him, right?
Yeah.
He was a good, like, he really could mess with your mind.
you can mess with your mind.
Right, and that's really what made him a phenomenal athlete, right? The fact that he could go in there, like there was a conversation between him and George Foreman, like way after they did the Rumble in the Jungle, and he said, "Man," George Foreman was talking about. He's like, I can't remember what round. He was like, "Man, I was so tired. I know he was tired, man. And I took Ali and I hit him with everything I had. I just laced it into his gut, came real close to him, and Ali leaned into my ear and said, 'Is that all you got, sucker?'" And he said it totally messed his head up.
Yep.
Right? He said, because I didn't have anything else. So I
Yep.
see how the coach would say, you're not fast, but you're short, so you make up with it, because there's some quality there that gave you an advantage.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So, so the question is, though, working with these kids,
Yeah.
generically speaking, like giving us a more so generic answer, not getting too detailed in which kid or whoever, but
Yeah.
what was your greatest, like, you sit with these kids, they're collegiate basketball players, I got to know what's in their mind, because obviously they're phenomenal athletes that are going through some kind of patch, right?
Yeah.
What was your greatest success story out of all that really got you from, like, point A to, like, you just shot up to the moon, like, this is great, we started here, and now we kind of fixed it,
Yeah.
if you would.
Yeah. Well, there was this one. Actually, I started working with football players, which is interesting. My greatest success early on was with a football player, not a basketball.
Okay.
All right. Here's a kid who, great athlete, okay, but he still thinks he's this little kid who's playing with all of his older brothers. Okay, that's how he started playing football. Okay, so he's playing with these kids that are 50 pounds more than he is, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches taller than he is, whatever. Even though he's a specimen, he's athletic, he still thinks of himself that way. So he's still trying to prove something. Okay, but he's trying so hard to prove that he can hang with these bigger kids that it's messing with his head. So he's the chip on his shoulder, which you think, with mental toughness and all that sort of thing, you would think that'd be a motivator for him. All it would do was jam him up. Okay, now he's trying too hard. Now every play is, I got to prove myself. And if he fails in any one play, then he's back to square zero. Then he thinks, I can't do this. I'm still playing against my bigger brothers and my cousins and all this kind of stuff. So that's his mindset. He didn't know that though. He wasn't conscious of what he was doing to himself on every play. So all it took was some guy like me say, "Do you realize that that's who you're still playing against?"
But
it was a simple question as that.
But when you say that, he says, "I'm not." Like, how do you get him out of that unconscious state?
Well, I had to say it to him about 4, 5, 6 times.
Right.
Okay, because the same issue kept coming up.
Right.
Because he'd keep saying the same things about the same situations game after game after game. And so I said, well, you still look like you're not having fun. And he says, yeah, well, that's because. And then he, and each time it was that's because.
There it is, buddy.
There it is.
Right.
And once he heard that enough, he was like, wow. I said, why did you start playing this game? He said, because it was fun.
Right.
And I said, yeah, but now you're trying to prove yourself. And yeah, you're at a different level and all that, but still, it's not fun anymore. And so I started working with him about what he could do to get in touch with having fun.
Right.
And the challenge of having fun as opposed to the challenge of trying to prove himself on every play. And then if he failed, then he'd have to dig himself out of that.
Right.
Start over.
Start over again.
In his mind, that's what it was.
Right.
And that everybody else saw that. It was like, oh, you screwed up again. Well, you're not that good.
We there was a famous quote that we talked about actually last week, where it was, the quote was, fail again, learn, fail again.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But there's something to that, but that can hinder people, such as a football player
Sure.
like this, as he failed or fell back into whatever it is he was falling back into. He would withdraw, but wouldn't come back to the forefront to learn from that.
Yeah.
Right? And the question, a lot of times is it repetitive, like reminding the person that, listen, this is what you're doing? Because sometimes, like, you trip over your own feet.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Not realizing that you're doing it, So, and I think this is fascinating when you're talking to these kids. Like, how do you get them to, like, kind of like break, like snap out of it,
Yeah.
like shake them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So you can actually see what you're doing wrong, and it actually being just the way that you're thinking that is just messing everything up across the board.
Yeah.
Which is great.
Yeah.
So then you do the college thing, and then what's the next evolution after that?
After that, I completely shifted out of that because I wanted to do corporate psychology.
Whole different ballgame.
Well, yes and no, because you're still talking about peak performance. You're still talking about very demanding expectations that in the corporate world, everybody's got to perform just as well. Now, the hard part about it is a lot of it is very difficult to measure. If you're in sports, you measure it by trophies, you measure it by points per game, you measure it by touchdowns, you measure it by personal best, Olympic gold medal. You're in business, you're in the corporate world. What are you measuring yourself on?
Bottom line.
Well, yeah, but whose bottom line is it? See, with salespeople, it's easy. It's like, oh, you sold that amount of this much product, or you sold. It's like, okay, so everybody's like, yeah, salespeople. So everybody knows, and then everybody's like, oh, we know who the great salespeople are. But if you're in any other department, you don't have that.
There's no measurables.
There's no measurable. Not really. I mean, there is and there isn't. But
Right.
most businesses are not very good about setting up measurables.
So what did you find I'm pretty sure there are a whole bunch of problems that exist in that particular
Yes.
world when it comes to thinking,
Yeah.
or just the way that the mind should be operating.
Yeah.
But what were your biggest things that you were like, was there a common denominator that you would find amongst most, or was it generally like a lot of it was just different?
Well, it was very similar in some ways and very different in other ways. Now, the thing that was the most interesting to me was how corporate people, because it's hard to measure, all you could rely on what somebody said, how good they was. You can't see them. I'm damn good. All right. So you got these headhunters, and they bring these recruits to the corporate world and say, "This is the greatest guy since sliced bread. He's your next chief operating officer."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the company goes, "Yeah, we better hire him."
Right.
And so then they hire him, and and then they find out, oh, he's not
That great.
He's not that great. He just said he was. He knows how to say he's great.
Right.
It's like he can talk a good game.
Right.
But that's it. So you've got no way to measure it. So what I would come in and say, okay, now I'm gonna do the interview.
Right.
And I'm going to put him through psychological testing. I'm going to interview him. I'm going to ask him questions about his experience. I'm going to ask him questions that have to do with integrity, character, how they treat people, their own self-awareness, all kinds of stuff, so that I can say, you know what, you're not the greatest guy since sliced bread, and you know what, we're probably not going to hire you.
Right.
You know?
Okay. Wow. So doing that, like
Yeah.
going through that process,
Yeah.
you're trying to, which it sounds like the opposite of what you did on the collegiate level to a degree, because now you're sitting here, you're putting him through this psychological exam to tell him why he's not great versus the athlete that you were trying to tell, like, you're pretty amazing.
Yeah.
That's okay.
Well, one, you're talking to someone that's already an employee,
Okay.
in a sense.
I got you.
I
got you.
You're trying to weed out the wannabes with the can-dos.
Right.
So it's that part of what you're trying to do in the corporate world is different.
Now, when you were doing that, you were actually working for a company doing that? Or?
Yeah.
Okay.
The first company I worked for, interestingly enough, was a company called RHR International.
Okay.
Now, the reason that's important is because they came out of Chicago, and they started doing this back at World War II when all the vets were coming back from the war. All these companies wanted to find out, who do we hire out of all these guys? They can't all be, even though they're veterans and they come back and they're heroes. I said, we can hire all of them.
Yeah.
We just want to hire the good ones.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so RHR, these three psychologists with funny names, started this company, and that's all they did. Okay. Now, and once again, I didn't know this till later after I joined the company. All right, they were the first company to work with the NFL. They worked with the Dallas Cowboys.
Wow.
Okay, the Dallas Cowboys came along. This was when Tex Schramm and Tom Landry, they were a expansion team in the NFL. They say, here's what we're going to do. We've got this massive playbook. We cannot have stupid people
Yeah.
on our team.
Yeah.
First of all, we need to go through some kind of psychological test, but more importantly, some sort of intelligence test. We want to have smart people. That's why Calvin Hill, back in the 60s, he was from Yale. So they drafted him, but it was because he was able to do really well on an intelligence test.
Right. Okay.
And they started doing that with the Dallas Cowboys. And a few years later, everybody else is doing it. So they made a lot of money just
doing
that.
these evaluations.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah. And they're still going on to this day. I mean, lots of people do them now, but if you look at the NFL, every possible rookie takes an IQ test. It's called the Wonderlic test. Okay. They all take it.
pretty difficult test.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah, really?
It is.
Never.
Yeah.
I never knew that.
Yep.
Actually, never
Yeah.
knew that. So you worked for them for a while,
For a while. Yeah.
and then because I'm trying to get to how psychogenics evolved.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, what made you say, you know what, corporate's cool, the collegiate side's cool, but I'm on a mission here.
Yeah.
You know, and that mission is to X, and
Yeah.
how you got to that point.
Well, once again, I have to admit stupidity because I didn't realize this till afterwards. Okay, so I started getting crossways with my own managers. Okay, the people at HR National and the other. I work with two other firms, but there was a point at which I would start going crossways with the people I was working with, mostly people above me.
Yeah.
Okay, but here I am. I'm a licensed psychologist. I've been doing this for 15, 20 years, and supervisors is still trying to supervise me. Okay.
Yeah.
And I went, for a long time I was saying, there's something wrong with me that I can't get along with all these guys. There is something nastily wrong with me.
That's your own negative self-talk.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You became the college.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Same
there you
thing.
go. Here we go again. So then one day it dawned on me, and actually it was that somebody else told me this. See, you can get along with anybody. You get along with everybody. It isn't that you're not getting along with people. You don't want to work for anybody else. You need to work for yourself.
Yeah.
You just need to, And it took me too long to figure that out. So once I figured it out, actually I was skiing up in Big Sky, Montana. I'm skiing and I'm having the greatest time. Like, I'm in the zone, okay? We haven't talked about the zone yet.
No, we're gonna get into that. Yeah.
All right. I'm skiing, I'm in the zone, and I'm just about to go down a slope. And I just, all of a sudden, I said, I'm done. I'm done.
That was it.
That's it. As soon as I got back off the slopes and came back to Atlanta, I quit. And I was off to the races. I was going to do my own thing.
Were you living in Decatur at that time, or were you?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Yep. I was living in Decatur.
Okay. And that was it.
That was it. I started my own business.
And the intention was the intention to start was what?
Well, it was from the practical side. I was going to incorporate all this stuff. I've been working with athletes. I've been doing corporate work. I had worked in a counseling center doing clinical work. So I'm thinking, I'm a behavioral scientist. Enough of this psychotherapy, psychology. I'm a behavioral scientist, and I can do all kinds of different things, and that's what I'm going to do.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So you got your own playbook now.
Yeah.
Right? That you can
That's
pass
right.
on to somebody
I
else.
rip from the ones I don't like
Yeah,
because otherwise, before that, I had to say, "Can I rip this page out of this book?" And
right.
most of the time, people will say, "No, we kind of like that one."
Right. So is that the title now? Behavioral scientist? I dig that.
That's what I call myself.
That's new.
Well, I call psychologist. It's a behavioral science consulting firm.
Is there a trademark on that?
It's an LLC.
No. Is there a trademark on being a behavioral scientist?
No.
You need to work on that one.
Yeah, maybe so.
So now you see who, for example, like, is it an athlete? Is it a mom? Is it a corporate person?
It's
like,
it's everybody, but it's mostly males because what I've been talking about, when you're talking about athletes in the settings that I was in corporate America, particularly at the time when I first started, I was working with all males, okay? And I'm a male. What do I know about somebody who's not male?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was just organic. I started realizing that most of the people who were calling me, most of the people I was working with were males. And I thought, why? That's my specialty. It's
your niche, yeah.
That's my niche. Males who are interested in peak performance, whether it's in the corporate world, whether it's sports related, or if you got a family, if you're a parent, if you're a spouse, do you not want to be a peak performer?
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
I tell you, it couldn't make more sense. And I'll tell you, a quick, story about me. Like I'm one of those trying to be peak performers, regardless of however old I'm going to be. I'm still going to try to always be performing at my best, right? So during that time, I was racing, swimming, all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, psychologically, something just got off, right? And I started going, and that's when people just started saying, like, maybe you need to sit down and go see somebody. Like, you're going through some tweaks, maybe you need to do that, right? I went to 3 people before I found Dr. Valdes, that he sat down and kind of like bumped it back into place, and everything kind of just jumped back into place.
You're too kind.
Right?
You're too
But
kind.
it took a while, but it's like I went through a situation where, and this is nothing against like a gender thing, but I went to 2 female psychologists prior, and there was no click.
Yep.
Right? And it's just because, this wasn't anything against them. Like, I had one psychologist, like, when you're feeling this way, like, write your feelings down. I'm just like, chick, you don't understand, man. When I'm feeling like this, the last thing I want to do is write anything down. You know what I'm saying? But then what he started saying was, this was a simple thing. Like, put a rubber band on, right? When you're feeling that, pull it and snap yourself, right? Big difference than writing something down, right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, like, anytime you're feeling this, pull it and bam. You know what I mean? Like, certain things that trigger it. So I actually am a firm believer in, as I tell a lot of my male friends, like, if you should go just basically air it out every now and then, right?
Yeah.
Just tune it up, right? And when you do go, like, nothing against it, like, just go sit and talk with another guy. Like, nothing, you know what I mean? So, but anyway, I just wanted to kind of, jump on that and solidify that there is a lot of truth to that, just what I've experienced in life. So with that being said, obviously people come to you for any and everything under the sun, right? So you got to look under the hood and figure it out, right? And I titled today, like, it's all in your head, at least most of it is, right? Because of that very reason. A lot of times we put ourselves in these predicaments where it's like we get so worked up, right? And we all want to perform at peak levels. All of us do.
Yep.
For whatever reason, whether it's mandated by work, whether it's just your friends doing it, you see it on social, so on and so forth, you always want to do it. But one thing I've always noticed, and I have been noticing, is that as a society, as a neighborhood even, right? I'll just dumb it down to here because we talk about here. Like we're getting more anxious lately,
Yeah.
right? Just overall,
Yep.
right?
No
Just
question.
everybody you talk about, I'm anxious, I'm stressed, I'm anxious. And, my question is, because and I said that earlier, like, is there a common denominator? Like, I find that there are common denominators, right? And the question is, how do we start healing? How do we start the fitness? Because when you tweeted about that you were going to be on here, you were hashtag mental fitness,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
We don't ever think about that anymore. Fitness comes from the neck down.
Yeah.
How do you practice it from the head up? And how do you get them back to that point when they come to you and they're somewhat broken?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say broken all the way, but, some tweaking.
Yeah.
How do you get them to start exercising the mind, the brain again? How do you do that?
Yeah, that's a great question. That is an excellent question because there's so many different factors that you have to kind of boil it down to one thing. And what I usually start working with people is it's a combination of self-talk, okay? Because we all have things that we say to ourselves. Like right now, we could be everybody in this room has got something going on, some chatter going on as we're talking, as we're performing, as we're doing our thing, okay? And it's noisy in there, okay? And when you're trying to perform whatever it is that you're trying to perform, if it's noisy in your head, you're actually not performing as well as you could because you're actually not focused on the task. You're focused on evaluation. This is huge, okay? Because people talk about self-talk. They've been talking about self-talk for years and cognitions and stuff. But what they didn't pay attention to is the fact that what you're really doing is you're in evaluation mode, okay? And as long as you're in evaluation mode, you can't perform. You can't execute. If I'm thinking, is this play going to work? Is this play going to work? Am I going to make the basket? Am I going to miss the basket? What am I going to do? How about that girl that's looking at me up in the stands? What is she thinking about me if I miss this shot? What about my coach? Oh, my coach is going to sit me down. Now, how are you going to make a basket? How are you going to kick a field goal? How are you going to make a goal in soccer? How are you going to putt if all that chatter is going on in your head, okay? So a lot of people think, okay, well, yeah, all that chatter is pretty negative and it's evaluative and blah, blah, blah. It's like, yeah, it's negative. And so the myth is, we'll turn it into positive. I can do this. This will be fine. This will be great. Well, that is just as distracting as the negative self-talk.
The positive is?
Yes, because it's still based on
Evaluation
and outcome. You're still thinking about the outcome, okay? You're not paying attention to the steps and the tasks. And maybe even more importantly, you don't allow your muscle memory to take over. You've been practicing, you've been preparing, you've been rehearsing, you've been doing all this stuff, training hard, blah, blah, blah. You've been doing all this stuff, and now you go into a performance mode, and now you're evaluating rather than telling your brain to shut up and perform.
When you go through evaluation mode, whether it's positive or negative, right? So you're evaluating yourself.
Yep.
Your biology reacts to that,
Oh, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
So now you find yourself in this wicked storm where it's like, I'm evaluating, my body's doing something it doesn't need to be doing.
Yeah.
What's it doing? It creates more talk, right?
Yes.
Why am I not kicking correctly? Why am I not?
Yes.
Why is my arm not doing what it's supposed to do to catch the shot?
Yeah.
Like, how do you quiet the monkey in the cage? And before you answer that, I follow this guy on Instagram, right? His name's David Goggins. I don't know if you've ever heard of him.
I've heard the name, yeah.
Right. He's a 36th African-American Navy SEAL, went through BUD/S training three times, right?
I knew it, yeah.
Follow him all the time, and he had a very interesting 45-second quote about getting out of your own head. This is what he had to say.
The most important conversation you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. You wake up with it, you walk around with it, you go to bed with it. Eventually you act on it, whether it be good or bad. There's haters everywhere in this world. People trying to get in your head. The one thing you got to understand is this: they're trying to infiltrate your mind. What a lot of boxers do to get away from distractions is they go away before a big fight. A lot of us can't do that. We have to be able to live amongst distractions and be undistracted. Stay in your own mind. Don't let them own yours.
Okay, so that's what he had to say.
Yeah.
Right?
That's awesome.
So he, with what you're saying, what he's saying, it's easily said.
Yeah.
But the war that's going on inside, it's a battle,
It is.
right? How do you help somebody quiet that down?
There's several different ways. One is, and we talked about this before we even came on the air, is meditation, mental imagery, things of that nature. Those are excellent things to do.
Right.
But there's also things to do in the moment. Coach Krzyzewski, Coach K at Duke, one of the most interesting things he does is during practice, when they're scrimmaging and they're running their plays, you hear the coaches saying, and actually the players say it sometimes, when somebody makes a mistake or when a play is over, they just say, next play.
On to the next thing.
Yeah. Next play.
Drop it.
Next play. Next play. Bad pass, next play. Next play. And now that's your neural path. That's a new neural pathway that's being established in your head is next play.
It's like a new highway.
It's a new highway.
Right.
Next play. What I did something a little bit different. I just found out about this from Coach K not too long ago. But what I said with my players is erase, recover, move on.
Once again,
Same thing.
I get it.
Yeah.
But how do you, is it just the repetitiveness of it that eventually you fall into it?
You fall into it.
Because
Yes.
we all say that now, like next play, but I'm sorry. That was a perfect situation, and I totally jacked it up, and I cannot let it go.
Yeah.
So you're saying that saying it over and over again, over and over again,
is
will
one.
eventually create that new highway
Yeah.
and allow that electricity to run down that particular path and the other one.
Yep. Now, when was the last time within this interview that you took a deep breath?
Whole bunch of times.
Nah.
I swear I did.
I didn't see
Man,
one.
my respiratory rate is like
It might be low,
6.
but you didn't reset. I haven't seen you reset yet.
Well, I haven't reset for a reason. But see, I'm going to combat him. But
I know, right?
Yeah. So I didn't reset, meaning what? So what does that mean?
All right. What this does,
Yeah.
it resets both your mind and your body.
Right.
Okay. It does something to your vagus nerve, for one, and that's a central communication system between your body and your brain.
Right.
Okay. So that's another way to reset. So it's a combination of things. It's no one thing. There's no one silver bullet. Okay.
And that's what we look for a lot.
That's what we look for a lot.
Yeah.
So, and if you really want to be at the top of your game, you're going to be doing meditation. You're going to be paying attention to your self-talk. You're going to be resetting. You're going to be doing mental imagery, okay? Because mental imagery is another really important thing. Now, you can't always train physically, okay? You go run your laps. You go, to the weight room. You do all your thing, okay? Another really important thing is mental imagery, where you're still doing reps in your head, so that your body continues to develop neural pathways while you're not actually taxing your body.
Hey, I heard something very interesting.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
It might be the same thing you're about to ask, but go ahead.
Now, this, especially downhill skiers, do it before,
Yes.
where they are visualizing the whole course.
Yes.
Is that a
that's-
similar
that-
thing?
yes,
So you can do it
that's-
pre or post.
Yes.
You can do it before or after.
Yeah.
But I also read I read a study that mental imagery also, let's say, for example, you're sitting here and you're just meditating the course that you're running, right? That your muscles actually will fire.
They're fired. The neurons are fired.
Yeah, as if you were actually running.
Yep.
Which essentially is another form of training,
Yes.
if you would.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Which bleeds into the whole muscle memory
Yes.
portion of things.
It does.
Which I've read that, and I've always said that that's pretty amazing. Like a lot of these athletes will actually do that, and they're actually like their quads are actually or their mind is to the point where it's actually sending a message to the quad to fire, which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
But before you get you'll sit there, you'll go, okay, cool. I want to win the race. 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 Right?
Yeah.
And then
Those are just words.
how do you turn the words into emotions?
Okay. This takes a lot everything takes practice.
Right.
Okay, what we're really talking about with mental imagery is slowing yourself down so that you're actually imagining the task in the steps that you're trying to do the task. Okay, you're not you just gave yourself a bunch of words about the outcome.
Right.
Okay,
Right.
but we're talking about going through the repetitions in your head about all the things that it takes, like where you're positioned, what you're looking at, how your arm is throwing the ball, for example, or
Right.
how you're holding the racket or the club.
Right.
It's all those things. You're slowing down so that your neural pathways are allowed to have those full images. Okay, it isn't just like I'm gonna win. That's not mental imagery. That's just more self-talk.
Right.
Now you're
Now you're really messing yourself up.
you're messing
right.
up. Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
I got you.
Yeah, and it's hard to even identify what mode you're in. Okay, which is another piece of this too. I talk to my athletes a lot about: are they in experimental mode? Are they in practice mode? Are they in execution mode? Or are they in performance mode? Okay, like Steph Curry. All right, he does stuff that he's at the forefront of all this stuff. Okay, he's actually implementing a lot of the things that I'm talking about, and he's great at it. Okay, one of the things that he does is he shoots and dribbles and does all kinds of stuff, and he's just screwing around.
Yes.
He's like
Just messing around.
He's let me see if I can throw this through my leg, off that backboard, off that wall, and into the bucket. Okay.
Yeah.
All it's helping him to relax. It's helping him to reach that reset set point,
Mm-hmm.
But it's also, what if this actually works? What if I could actually find a way to bounce the ball off somebody's head, off the backboard, into the basket? Now, wouldn't that be pretty cool? That's why he shoots those 32, 35 footers, because there was a point in time when he said, nobody shoots these. Your coach would sit you down if you shot a 32, 35, 40 footer in the middle of a game. Now he's practiced those. He's experimented with those shots so much, put them in his repertoire long enough, repeated them, that now in a game, it's nothing. He's not thinking about it. It's just like, here's the situation. This is going up from 35 feet.
He's choosing. the game.
Here's why I'm so excited about stuff like this and conversations like this. It's because when you have, and I've told the guys this all the time, like, we have people that come in here, right, that they tell their stories, and their stories are so different, but the message is like always the same, right? And it's just like, the only reason I'm saying that, in everything, in all the aspects of things that we get experienced to, like you just said, like Curry was doing these what if things, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna go back to Goggins for a second. Listen to this clip. It's like right on what you just said. Listen to this.
I would like to know, when you're in that moment failing and you have to keep going, what do you say to yourself?
What if? A lot of times I'll be in a 200-mile run or something like that, and I'm all jacked up. Body's broken, mind's broken, spirit's broken. I start to say, what if I can pull this off? When I first walked into the Navy SEAL recruiter's office, he looked at me and said, there's only been 35 African Americans in 70 years make it through. You know what I said to myself? What if I can be the 36th? It's the what if I can pull off a miracle. What if I can become someone that no one thinks I can be? And just me talking about that, I have the hair going up on my arms, because it makes me just like, what if?
There it is. Like, it's the same thing you just said,
Yeah.
which is crazy. You know what I mean? But we still don't fall into it, because the what ifs are just that.
Yeah.
Just like you said, they're words at the time. So,
Yeah.
And I only say that because I see, like, all our neighbors, as they're working and they're trying and they're striving, and whether it's friends or athletes, like, we just get caught with that monkey, and the monkey is just rattling the cage all the time.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And you can't get him to shut up long enough to say, let me go to that Curry moment and practice this and do this, and what if this and what if that, so it just becomes automatic. So, you're saying you just continue drilling it in,
Yeah.
and eventually it takes
yeah.
off.
You're relying on your neural pathways and your muscle memory to do its job.
Here's a question for you. By your terms, right, in your industry, the difference between the mind and the brain.
Yeah.
What is the difference? Because you say neural pathways
Yeah.
and things are firing. That makes me think brain, right?
Sure.
But is that the mind?
No.
Okay.
The brain is the brain is like the hard drive that you're given, and the mind is what you put on the hard drive.
The data.
Yeah.
That you put.
Yeah.
So is your mind the self-talk?
Yeah. It's really more and that's what we have the most control over.
The self-talk.
Yeah.
Changing the data.
Changing the data. Well, it's really whether or not you're paying attention. It's like you're driving down the street or driving down a highway, and you see all these signs going by saying, landslide ahead, all the different things, slow down, and it's a matter of what we pay attention to and what we have discipline to pay attention to. Because not all those signs in our head, now they may be more accurate in the real world on the highway. Somebody put that sign up there for a purpose. And so, but in our head, those signs are just random.
Right.
It's like, oh, look out. That looks terrible. That looks dangerous.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It's all that stuff. And you have to figure out what to pay attention to. But at the same time, there's a lot of, you have to be able to say, look, I'm not going to pay attention that much. Because most of those signs are just random signs.
I'm going to ask you a tough question. It's a very generic question, and it's you can start anywhere you want, but why do we have so many mental challenges today? Why is there such mental toughness today? Especially, with kids. Obviously, we see a lot of it on the news. Kids are doing crazy things.
Yep.
Like, what is that? Like, seriously. And like I said, you can start anywhere. But as a person that's in the profession that studies this, that studies these behaviors as a scientist, what do you say to yourself? Like, and where do you start?
Well, the first thing I think about is we have never been in this time right now. All the things that we have in our environment have never been all there at the same time as they are now.
Right.
It's kind of a perfect storm right now. Okay. We've got technology, we've got natural things, we've got all this stuff. And our bodies have not caught up, and our brain in many ways have not caught up with all the things that we have to encounter, which is why it's so much more important to reset and recover. We haven't even talked about recovery yet. Right.
I just reset it real quick.
Yeah, you did for the first time. There you go.
There you go. Recovery.
Yeah, recovery. Yeah.
Recovery from
everything. Okay, because all right, the best example I can think of right now is sleep. Okay, it's like we go through this long day with all these demands, work, family, training hard, everything. Okay, and then oh gosh, you know what? I'm not going to sleep the 7, 8, 9 hours that I need. I'm going to get back up to it all over again tomorrow with 5 or 6 maybe hours of sleep, and now I'm going to expect the same performance that I had yesterday tomorrow.
Do you believe some people only say I just need 4 hours of sleep? Is that BS?
Yes.
Okay.
There's no way.
Okay.
There's just no way.
Okay.
They think they do.
Right.
It's kind of like those experiments where you ask people to assess whether or not they can drive drunk, and they say, "Oh yeah, I can drive drunk. It doesn't bother me at all." And then you videotape them and watch them driving drunk, and they're knocking down pylons and they're bumping and everything.
It's like that movie Wolf of Wall Street. Remember how he thought he was driving the car one way, and then after that he saw the Ferrari the next day, and it was just totally smashed.
Yeah, it's the same kind of thing. It's like that's what we do with our sleep. I function perfectly well under with 4 hours of sleep every night. Well, oftentimes those are executives and managers, and then you ask the employees, and he comes in here and starts yelling at everybody before he even opens the door, and I'm thinking that's sleep deprivation. He hasn't recovered from the day, and he's already yelling at people before things have even gotten started.
Right.
What else would that be?
Right.
And he's the same guy, and I say guy, he's the same person
Right.
that's saying, yeah, man, I can get by on 4 hours of sleep. No problem.
But sometimes people say that they can't sleep. We just had that conversation today.
We were just having that.
Gerard was saying, like, he's
Yeah.
like, I wake up every morning at 3:30.
Yeah.
Right? So it's like, is it, I mean, for whatever reason, I mean, you got to get down to the bottom of why you can't sleep. But,
Yeah.
Is that things, I mean, a lot of times it's things that are talking to you,
Yeah.
your mind.
Sure.
It just can't stop.
Yeah, it can't stop.
You can't turn it off. But so you try to figure out the recovery with sleep. What else? What else is another recovery?
Nutrition.
Yeah. Really important.
It's huge.
Really important.
See, a lot of times people do this. Athletes do this. Everybody does this. They say, man, if I could just get my mental health correct, I would be able to sleep, I'd eat well, and I'd exercise really, really well.
But it's the reverse.
It's the other way around.
Right.
It's the other way around, and yet many times we act when the problem comes and we're acting the other way around. We're saying that, no, I got to do it this way. But it's not. There's some fundamentals. There's some ways in which you have to take care of yourself. There's all the fuel that you need in order to be a peak performer has to go in first.
Do you think recovery comes in with technology too as well? Like, take a break from it. Like,
Absolutely.
Get off of social.
Yeah.
Like, leave it alone. Walk away.
Yeah.
It's another self-chattering, negative thing,
Yeah.
if you would.
Well, and it's huge in the sense that look at the colors on your screen. You've got colors, you've got words, you've got pictures, you've got your ears are working. You've got every sense is firing. It's not just it isn't just that you're looking at something. You're hearing it, you're watching it. There's colors. Every stimulant that you could possibly think of is right there on your screen.
And you're trying to make sense of it. You're trying to process
You're
it.
trying to process it, and it keeps telling you, hey, I got some more. Even as you're watching one thing, it's like, hey, I got somebody else is trying to contact you. Here's another notification. Hey.
Can I bash your industry for a second?
Oh, here we go.
Isn't that because they've hired people like you at Instagram
to figure that out?
To figure out
Yeah.
how do we get
No, absolutely.
on
You're
it
working against
No,
us.
absolutely.
all day long.
Sure.
Wow.
Yeah. No, I have no question that there are behavioral scientists right now saying we're going to hook people just like this.
I think you told me one time that retailers do that quite a bit.
Sure.
Like when you walk into I was just gonna, like an electronics store, for example. Like the lights are bright for a reason.
Yeah.
There's places that things are blinking for a certain reason, just to kind of get you to the point where it's like to excite whatever it is.
Yeah. They make it easy for you to get in, and they make it very hard for you to get out.
Get out, right?
The one that got me, and I found out is true about me. I walk into Kroger, I'm turning right.
Why?
And they knew that. They knew.
They study you.
Not me personally, but they figured something about that.
I
cannot walk just straight.
I actually did some work for Coca-Cola at one point, in which they brought us into their realm and they showed us.
That's hard.
Yeah, and they actually showed us just how some of their research is done. Like in certain parts of their building, they actually have like replicated grocery stores, right? With things put in certain places just to see the behavior of what moms do when they walk down the soda aisle. And then when they do something wrong, they'll ask them, like, why did you grab that instead of that?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, how do you, like you're saying, like Goggins said, like, how people are trying to infiltrate your mind,
Yep.
right? So they're trying to write their data on your hard drive,
Yeah.
right? How do you create a firewall to that? Like, if we're going to go into technology, like, what's your firewall, right?
Meditation, for one,
Right.
because that you're turning it off. You're going the power button
Right.
for one.
For one.
Yeah.
That's a start.
That's a
lot of people. That's a start, but that's
a start.
a very difficult start.
Yeah, it is.
A lot of people have a problem with that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You sit still for a second and to get inside your own head for a second. I'll tell you one thing I started doing. I started running lately without headphones. Excruciatingly painful.
Yeah.
For my head, not my body. For my head. Because it's like I have nothing to distract me, so it's just me and my run, right?
Yeah.
And I'm sure people go through that in a whole bunch of different scenarios.
Yeah.
And you say to yourself, like, the meditation ain't working.
Right.
Like I said, I meditate for 20 minutes. Why isn't it working? Why isn't it working? Right? It
Yeah.
takes time.
It takes a lot of time.
How you never really master it,
No.
but how do you get control of it? Keep doing it.
Keep doing it, but it's sort of the opposite of control. What you're trying to do is release control, not get control. There's
We never look at it like that.
we don't look at it like that.
No,
Yeah.
we don't. And that's part of the mindset. And it's one of the things where I feel like if some of these things were taught, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you like, would you suggest as a scientist to this particular craft, like this field, is this something that schools should adopt? For example, like, is meditation something schools should adopt?
Well, some do. That's the interesting thing. We've already got data, okay, that you've got kids that when they do anything where it's considered misbehavior, okay, they send them to the meditation room, and there's a guy there, male, female, who will go through this short meditation thing with the kid that got sent. They do that for 5, 10, 15 minutes, whatever it is, and then they send them back to class.
Right.
And remarkably, the kid is like, chill.
Right.
Okay. Now, some schools do other things, and they say, okay, go outside and play on the monkey bars for a while, and then come back. But they're finding that meditation actually really is as effective, if not more effective, for that. And now you don't send them to the principal anymore; you just send them to the meditation room.
It's interesting because I would always call that the old school, like, timeout.
Yeah.
Your mom says go stand in the corner.
Yeah.
Because that's all you're doing. You're staring at the wall.
Yeah.
I mean, you're angry about it, but
Well, and that's the thing. That gets back to self-talk. All that self-talk in there is like, I can't wait to get back and say something stupid at the teacher, or
I never really thought about that.
Yeah.
So here's another question. Why is it that we never start off with, we talk about, I know the talk is talk, but why is it that we always start off with negative versus positive? I give you a perfect example. Like, I would tell him, or tell any of my friends, just because I relate a lot of the stuff to running. Like, let's go run 10 miles. Oh, no, I could never do that. What do you mean you can never do that? Yeah, you can. I mean, you're more than able to do that. Physically fit. But they always start off with, I can't. Why is the negative always the first thing we start our days with, our thinking with, our everything with?
I attribute that to the huge neocortex, prefrontal cortex that we have in our brain. The problem is evolution, is that we've built this brain that just keeps storing more and more data. Okay, so in a way, our cortex is saying, no, you can't. That's really hard to do.
It's protecting you.
It's protecting you. It's saying, the last time you did that, you fell down. Last time, it's storing all that data, and a lot of it is negative.
Right.
Okay, so we're doing that. We're paying attention to what the neocortex is saying all the time.
So that's the brain.
That's part of our brain.
Okay.
That's the part that solves problems.
No, I know it's part of the brain, but I'm saying what you're saying is right now we're talking about the organ that's telling you this right now.
The part of the brain, yes, that is highly intelligent, has a lot of language associated with it.
Right.
It's highly developed.
Right.
Okay.
Actually, the people you should fear are the ones who think they can do it. Yo, let's go jump over the mountain. I'll lead.
Right.
As a kid, I just thought something is wrong with these kids. You
No,
should doubt yourself first and
No,
consider it.
I've always felt, as a child, I've always felt somewhat fearless. Never really had fear.
Yeah.
We'd go jump off the docks.
I'm
we'd go
fearless
scuba
after I
diving
consider
at night.
it.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even think twice about it. Now, at my age, I know I did that as a kid, but the self-talk is going to start. Knowing I could probably clearly do it, but there's always something that starts off with, you can't.
Yeah.
Right? Whether it's, and part of that isn't anything that was stored that I got hurt from. Part of that is the outside world saying, as you age, you can't, or,
Well, think of the messages that our parents give us oftentimes, okay? Say we're climbing a tree, we're getting on the fence, we're doing something like that. All right, you might have a parent that says, get off of there, you're going to break your neck. Or, be careful, be careful, be careful. Or some messages like that, and that's what your body's picking up. Oh, I'm already in danger. I'm about to have, I'm going to just explore this, but now I'm hearing that's dangerous, don't do that, stop it, you're going to fall. All right, now that's going into your hard drive now, okay? Versus a parent that says, oh, that looks like fun. Let me come over and we can do it together. Or why don't you see what you can do? See how high you can get. See, those messages, and it's like, oh, okay,
You know,
I can do that.
I've always criticized cats for one thing. They can climb up a very high tree and not be able to come back down. That's exactly what I was talking about.
Right.
I'm afraid of people who say they can do almost everything.
Yeah.
Because a cat is a perfect example.
But is that a bad thing? To say that you can?
To say that you can do it.
Yeah. Is that a bad thing too?
Well, yeah, because it gets back to the positive versus negative. It should be neutral. Let's see what happens. Would be probably the more.
So going to the
more
what if moment versus the I can or I can't.
Or I'll take it one step at a time.
Right.
Let me see how this branch feels.
Right.
Okay, but take Steph Curry though. He's gone through the what if moments. Now, do you think at any given point he's like, I could do that?
But it depends on the risk factor of what it is you're attempting.
No. I'm just talking about like
three-pointer is no risk.
The 3-pointer for him or whatever it is, right? That
Yeah.
he's trying, he's attempting, he's tried it. The what ifs, right? So
Yeah.
he's gone through that moment. What if I could do that? Oh, I'm doing it. When it finally comes game time to perform, is he in a what if moment?
Not there.
No, hold on. Is he in a what if moment? Is he in I can do it moment? And is that I can do it moment that he's in the zone that you were talking about? Or
That's a great question. It goes in stages. The first stage is he's experimenting with it. Okay, he just wants to see what happens if he throws the ball that way.
next play, yeah.
Kind of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, that's more performance mode. When you're next play, now you're in performance mode.
Okay, gotcha.
All right. So see, he's in experimentation mode. So he's just doing it. It's like, let me throw it up on the wall and see if it sticks. That's kind of that. Okay.
Yeah.
The next one is, okay, if it looks like that can happen more often than it doesn't, let me practice it and see if I can get good at it or perfect it or come as close as possible to it. Okay. He's not even thinking about putting it into the game or even into scrimmage yet.
Right.
Okay, so there's that stage. Then there's okay. Now I'm going to try and implement it in practice and see what happens in game conditions or with other people on the court. So it by the time he's perfected it and is in performance mode, he spent so much time on it that now he can say,
I can do it.
now I can do it.
But
Takes 20,000 hours, they say, to perfect.
Yes.
for me,
Yeah.
the people who really amaze me are people who do that thing that you were talking about, Mike, for the first time. It's not a free throw. Millions have shot free throws before Curry.
Right.
The guy who climbed, for example, El Capitan with no ropes, right? Sheer rock, straight up, knowing one false move is they'll have a hard time finding parts of your body.
Yeah.
Those are the people who scare me
Sure.
in that sense.
And if that's all, they haven't practiced on small little hills, a mountain that's this high,
Yeah.
and then they like the guy that went across the World Trade Center on
the high wire. Yeah.
He was on the high wire on the floor first.
Oh,
And
yeah.
then he did
And then
3 feet.
three.
Yeah.
And so you build up your mastery of the skill and your confidence. Okay,
Right.
but once again, that takes hours. Now, what's interesting about about some of this stuff is, you'll see something on YouTube, like a guy that's doing parkour or something crazy. It could be almost any skill.
Yeah.
All right, and somebody puts up a video, okay, and then all the comments are like, "I wish I could do that." How did he do that? Oh my
No.
God, she's so talented.
So practiced.
Right, but there's nothing in there about
You've been doing it for 3
Yeah.
years, 4
and-
years,
yeah,
whatever.
and now he put it on YouTube, or she put it on YouTube 4 years later. But our mindset is, or the majority of us don't have that mindset. All we're thinking, and talent is the other thing. Okay, it's like, and that gets back to some of the things we were talking about earlier. Is how much talent do you have, or how much of it is just in a gym all alone doing whatever it is you're doing over and over and over and over again.
How much of this world has brought us instant gratification that it translates into things like that. What I mean by that is, you know what? Yeah, I wish I could do that. I see that, and I want to do that, and I want to do that now. Like, forget getting to the point of doing it over and over again, right? Because at the end of the day, listen, man, when it's time for a new series to come out on Netflix, boom, it's a whole episode. I could just binge it. I want it now. So it's like, it's, or I want food, I'll order Uber Eats. I want a car, I'll order Uber. I want to, you know what I mean? Whatever it is, that this, it's been the input that we're given, or as an input, the output that we're given is like, you can have everything now. Yeah. So that we start associating certain things with, I want to have peace of mind, and I want it right now. Yeah. Why can't I have it right now? Yeah. I want to, run a marathon. Why can't I do it right now? So then when we realize we can't, then the negative self-talk just kind of solidifies everything, right? So that's a bad thing. I would say,
well, it's the illusion of being able to get everything immediately. Okay. There's lots of stuff. There's lots of apps that we download, and the app says, get this immediately, and then you use the app and you find out, no, you really can't. It takes longer, or, there's a snag, or this, it's not available, supply, no supply. So it's actually the expectation, which kind of gets into self-talk.
Right.
I've got the expectation that I'm going to get this immediately. Right. But the reality is different. And the difference between what we expect and what we actually get is huge. And that now we've got that frustration level of, somebody told me that I could get this immediately.
You talked about, I think one of your newsletters came out, and there was a link, and you had like a whole bunch of mantras. Right? Did you do something like that, or did you have a link to somebody who had something?
Yeah, I think it was a link to
or whatever it was. Do you believe in that stuff? Are mantras?
Not really, because they're usually pretty rigid. The mantras. I'm not sure exactly which ones you're talking about, but
I'd have to pull it up because it was. I think it might have been a story, and it led me to something else. Yeah. But I saw like a whole bunch of mantras that you can click on. There were some audio things that you could play, and I started thinking to myself, is there any backbone to that stuff when it comes to trying to flush out the negative self-talk? Because it just seems like mantras are just, once again, it's just putting yourself in a.
It can be a lot of noise. Mode. It can be a lot of noise. Now, if you attach it to something that you really believe, or something that you've been practicing a lot, or something that really fits into your philosophy. Okay, getting back to John Wooden, one of my favorite mantras, if you want to say it, is he said, "Be quick, but don't hurry." And I love that one. Yeah, I love that one. That, if there's anything I try and follow as a mantra, at least in sports, I'm not saying in everything, but maybe just about everything, it's be quick, but don't hurry. It's huge.
I have a similar question like I asked Matt. Is there a major difference between getting somebody's mind in the game if you're dealing with an individual versus a group sport, whether it's one football player or a golfer?
Yeah. That's a great question. Now, I think it's a lot harder with a team. Okay, I think that's why so many corporations, so many teams, their success is very, very short-lived, because it's really hard to sustain. It's hard to keep all those moving parts working together. Yeah. Okay, and it's very contagious, either in the positive or the negative direction. Once you get some negative stuff going on in a team or with an organization, it can really fester and be contagious very, very quickly. With individuals, you really have kind of more control in the sense. Like, I was working with a guy who's in a team sport, but he was working really hard on all this mental conditioning stuff. And he was like, this is great. He'd try and implement it. He'd go to practice in the games. He's doing all this stuff. He said, but none of my teammates, one, I don't even know if they even believe any of this stuff. But two, it sure in the games, it sure doesn't seem like they've got the right mindset. Now what do I do? Right. And I said, well, now we're really talking about something
that's why I asked.
Very difficult. Now, see, which is one of the problems with sports psychology and mental conditioning is that you really, if it's a team sport, you really got to have everybody on the same page. The coach has got to believe in it. The players have to be locked in. It took years for Phil Jackson to get Michael Jordan on the right page. Okay, Michael Jordan spent half of his career not being Michael Jordan.
Yeah.
And Phil Jackson kept bringing in all this stuff, mental conditioning, meditation, all these mental coaches coming in, and you got, how about if we try this and try that, and not only Michael Jordan but everybody else on the Bulls is going, what do we need that for?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden Michael Jordan started saying, hey, this stuff kind of works.
It's crazy.
But those were the Chicago Bulls. Now you look at all these other teams, the one-hit wonders, one-season wonders, things like that. You know, they caught lightning in a bottle, and there was some good chemistry for a while. But you know, there's so many factors. So that's why the New England Patriots and the San Antonio Spurs are so incredible. To be able to sustain that kind of success over and over and over, and even have the kind of turnover that they have. To a certain degree, they still look like the same team. They still have the same philosophies. They still have the same team culture. They have the players sort of run the franchise in a sense because they all take care of each other.
Yeah.
They make sure that all their mindsets are
In the right place.
in the right place.
Yeah.
It's huge. But that's just two franchises, two different sports, and everybody else is flailing.
Yeah, that's true. Let's talk about this. I wanted to talk about the zone real quick because I know our time is running out. The zone, I don't even know where to start because there's so many different ways I could go into this. When an athlete is in the zone, right? First of all, can an athlete put themselves in the zone whenever they want if properly trained?
Nope. I haven't seen it yet.
It just happens.
It happens.
Now, here's the other question. Is it possible for the zone to occur, right?
Yeah.
Like it's happening and then like it happens for like a split second and then you're out of it.
Yeah.
What
It might be one play.
What occurs? Like what happens? Like is it like a mind body? Like everything connects? How does it happen? Like what is it?
Yeah. Well, the most important thing about it is all the mindset stuff that we've been already talking about only puts you in a position to perhaps be in the zone for a short period of time, and then you're out. Okay. We talk a lot about trust the process.
Mm-hmm.
That's part of the being in the zone. Is trust the process. The process will allow you to experience the zone from time to time.
To this day, that phrase has never made much sense to me. But
Yeah.
go ahead.
Trust the process?
Yeah, like I just never have understood it. Like you trust, like what am I trusting? I'm doing something, but am I supposed like what? Do I just surrender everything to it? Is that what it means? Or
Hey, when you sent me the stuff, the notes about for today,
Yeah.
that's exactly what you did. You sent me a bunch of sentences that basically told me, just come in here and we're gonna flow.
right.
And I'm thinking that's exactly right. He's got the right mindset. I got the right mindset.
Right.
We're contagious.
Right. Yeah.
We're likely to spend an hour and a half in the zone here and there.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start looking at it and say, was I in the zone? You're out.
What is it happening
Yeah,
right now?
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll go back.
Oh, here it is.
Oh, here it is.
Yeah.
Let me go back to that because I've experienced it, right?
The zone.
Yes.
Okay.
And the only way to say it is it's easier when you're in a team like basketball, soccer, football. And the way it used to occur on my freshman or second year in college, I used to play indoor soccer.
Yeah.
I was never usually a forward, a scoring guy. But in indoor, everybody can do everything because it's all in an arena.
Yeah.
There's no forwards or backs. Everybody is running at the ball.
Right.
I could tell you, I'm going to score. It didn't matter where I was in the field. It didn't matter who I was. Essentially, to explain it a little better, that for that one split moment, everything slows down like the Matrix. You can see the blows coming. You can evade them.
Yes.
You can dodge bullets. And I could see the keeper will never get to where I'm sending this ball. Never.
Time slows down.
I understand that, but at some point, everything clicks back in.
Yes.
Right. I've experienced the same thing, but like mine has been so like, just like it's the same thing. Everything's slow. I'm running, but I feel like the effort is like I'm really booking, but like it's effortless.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like everything is moving, and then all of a sudden I go, holy smoke, and then it just goes away, and then all of a sudden I can't run as fast. Things kind of just go out of kilter, and it's just like, how do I get back to that?
Yeah.
Right. So it's just something that comes.
It comes.
But it just seems like these elites experience the zone more than most.
Yes. And that's why they are elites, because they've done all the homework, all the prep, and then we get to watch them do it. We don't know if they're going to do it, which is part of the fun of sports. You know, we're sitting there in front of the big screen, and we're going, who's going to perform and who's going to screw up?
And in games where scoring is important, it's like deja vu. You've seen this moment
Before.
and you fired that 3-pointer.
Yeah.
You look away before the ball is in the net.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you one thing. This conversation was a zone because it's already time. Like time has gone by so fast and it's been slow.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where can people find you? I mean, obviously you live in, you're a Decatur resident, which we love. I'm definitely going to have you back because this conversation is far from over. But where can we find you now?
I would love to come back. Well, you can find me on the internet at psychogenics.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's probably the easiest way to find me. You can also find me. I've got an app. It's called Mind Fuel.
Oh, wow.
Mind Fuel. You can get it on the Google Play or the Apple Store.
Okay.
Just look for Mind Fuel. It's a free app, so this isn't really a plug. I just want you to have
I dig it.
the resources. It's got mental conditioning stuff. It's got mental imagery, videos, audios. It's got all kinds of news feeds. It's like having everything you need at your disposal in your pocket.
Okay.
You can find me there. You can find me. You can call me up. Heck, you can call me up 404-357-7335.
Okay.
And I'd love to talk to you about anything related to
just getting in the right mindset.
Yeah.
And just behavioral stuff. Yeah. That's cool, man. Man, I appreciate you coming in, man.
Mike, it's been a pleasure.
I'm gonna be on the email like in the next couple of days. Like, when can you come back? We need to talk about the zone some more.
Yeah.
And and I would love to get you and Matthew Rose like sitting in the same room. Like that.
That'd be fun.
That would be a very interesting conversation. I have a feeling that we'd have some great debates.
Yeah. It'd be an honor to come back. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure. So, guys, thank you so much for listening. Don't forget on Monday we have Netta from Tough Love Yoga. She's going to be in here, and you want to talk about somebody that gets you in the right mindset.
Ooh.
She literally can get you in the right mindset to just center, focus, and she is. I've said on the show before, I really don't curse, and the only word that I really do say is she is a badass, and I will say that she's a badass. So I'm looking forward to that conversation. Other than that, any plans for the weekend? Doing anything?
I haven't even gotten there. I'm in the zone.
He's in the zone. Everything is slow right now. Me, I'm like on Sunday already. G, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Gazelle, always a pleasure.
Yes.
Thank you so much for listening to Decatur FM, guys, and we'll see you on Monday. See you. Bye.